Fresh Start with Amy Sherman is made possible in part by the Live Healthy series, a community outreach program from Metro Health Hospital in Wyoming.
Kitchen, brought to you by Metro Health's Live Healthy series. I'm your chef and host, Amy Sherman. What brings you out to the Fresh Start Kitchen today?
I wanted to get some more heart-healthy recipes.
Well, you are in the right place.
Great.
Fresh Start today is working on the Mediterranean diet, which is heart healthy. And we're going to be making a full dinner tonight that encompasses a lot of different ingredients that are all great for your heart. So we're going to start off with a delicious salmon fillet that's been roasted in the oven and served on some sauteed fennel and tomatoes. It's spectacular. I love it. Lots of olive oil in it, really good stuff. And we're going to serve it over a bed of sauteed spinach, which is loaded with antioxidants, and then some good heart-healthy garlic inside there too. And then to finish things, we're actually going to make a healthy dessert today that consists of roasted apricots drizzled with delicious honey and served with Greek yogurt and roasted pistachios. I think it's going to be really good and good for your heart. So I can't wait to start. Why don't we start cooking in the Fresh Start Kitchen? Our Mediterranean dinner has a standout recipe in our salmon. Salmon is a fish that's loaded with omega-3s, which are the good kind of fats that you want to add to your diet. When you're looking for fish, you want to make sure that you look for fish that is fresh. Ask the person behind the fish counter for you to smell the fish. Ask them when it came in. These are questions that it's okay to ask, and they should have a good answer for you. The freshest fish is going to make the best tasting meal. And because this fish is so simple, we really want it to be top-notch quality. All we're going to do is put some salt and pepper over the top and roast it in the oven, which is a low-fat way to cook fish. You could also grill the fish. You could saute it too, but that's going to add a little bit more fat. So in the oven is sometimes the best idea for fish. Our sauce for the fish is low-fat, but really high in flavor. It has a base of caramelized fennel, which is a wonderful vegetable, lots and lots of fiber and lots of flavor. And then tomatoes, fresh tomatoes that we've just have, cherry tomatoes, which give it a burst of color as well as vitamin C, and then some Kalamata olives, and that gives us that nice little salty overtone with some fresh herbs. And this is spectacular on top of the salmon, but you could also stir it into pasta to have an easy pasta dish for dinner as well. To start our fish, we have some wonderful fresh vegetables there. And the first one that we want to cut up is our fennel. And this is just an awesome vegetable loaded with fiber as well as a very light anise flavor. I don't want you to be scared off. It's not licorice, okay? It's not black licorice. It's delicious, it's crispy, and then when you cook it, it caramelizes kind of like an onion, so it has that natural sweetness. It's just spectacular. But we do want to take the core out. So do you want to show us how to take the core out? I think if you remember, cut it in half. It's a hard root vegetable, so be careful. We can see the core there. And then we just want to take that out with the tip of our knife or the side of our knife there and just cut it out and discard that because that's really hard and it's not edible. We don't want to eat it. Definitely not a good thing. And then we can turn on our stove here. We're going to add some olive oil to saute thin slices of the fennel. And it'll just cook for a few minutes, not too long. And then while he's slicing that into thin slices, you can start to cut some of these tomatoes in half. So we want to cut them in half so they can kind of release their juices naturally. And if we leave cherry tomatoes whole, they're not gonna do anything. They're just gonna sit there, right, and look pretty. Squirtius Maximus. We've got some fresh oregano. I'm just gonna pull that off of the stems. We're gonna add that into our sauce as well. Add a nice depth of flavor. And then we have some fresh parsley we're going to put in there too.
Take the skins off?
No, not for cherry tomatoes because it's so small. These little tiny stem marks on the cherry tomatoes, definitely not worth it to remove. You're not going to taste it. They're not hard. They're just part of the tomato. So you can just leave that right on and cut these right in half. And this would be especially nice with some farm fresh tomatoes where you get all the different colored kind of tomatoes and shapes. It would just make for a really interesting looking dish. Okay, cool. Let's throw our fennel in. And it's going to go right into the pan with a little bit of olive oil. Hey, and and an olive, that's okay. No biggie. Beautiful, beautiful. We'll crank up that heat.
Enough, or do you want all of them?
No, let's do them all, and they can just sit there and we'll wait for them. And we're gonna season as we go on our fennel. So a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of salt. That way you won't have to over season it. Lots of black pepper. Let's go crazy, right? Because I'm doing the pepper dance. Beautiful, and then some kosher salt, sea salt if you've got it.
Do you ever use white pepper?
I do.
Slice of black? When would you use it?
I like white pepper, especially if I'm making a white sauce or mashed potatoes and I don't want to see the black pepper. But I also think that white pepper has a little bit of a florally kind of scent to it.
Hotter though to me.
Sometimes it can be hotter. I don't know, the batch I have right now, I'll sometimes use it in a dessert, like with fruit, to add a little bit of depth of flavor. I don't want the fruit to, to necessarily be hot, but it's just kind of interesting then. I have some pepper at home that I got at Penzeys, some Szechuan peppercorns. Those I love. They're one of my favorites. They're fruity and they're hot. And they're totally a different flavor than black pepper. And they're really cool to add to your cooking.
So you just saute that a little bit?
We're going to saute it. I'm going to let it sit and kind of caramelize for just a second. And then we can chop up, if you want to chop up the parsley with some of the oregano, you could do that. Did you hear my discussion about chopping? So this, we can pull off some of these stems. We don't necessarily need the stems.
So is this all going together eventually?
Yep, it'll all go together. Can you smell that fennel now? As soon as it starts to caramelize, you can kind of smell it. Can you guys smell that fennel? It doesn't smell like licorice, right? But it does smell, it's a little bit different. See how that's starting to caramelize? That looks nice.
How do you mash it? This with the edges?
You can do that. You can just smash it that way, and then you can just chop if you need to.
Is it small enough? Or
Yeah, that looks good. Throw it on in. In goes our garlic. We'll quick saute that, and then we can, if you can hand me the anchovy paste and the red wine vinegar. Our secret ingredient today, don't tell anyone, but we are using a little bit of that, look at that nasty glob there. Ugh, that's anchovy paste. It does look gross, but it adds a total depth of flavor in your dish that people are gonna say, what did you do to this? And don't tell them what you did, just add it, and trust me. All the fish taste is gonna cook out. And you're not going to know that it was anchovy. And this is the paste that you buy in the tube. So it's not something you're going to have to touch the anchovies. You just put in a tiny bit and you're good to go. So we're just going to let that anchovy kind of cook out for just a second. You probably can smell just a hint of fish, maybe. I can't actually. Oh, I can if I put my head over it. Put your head over it. Try it. You'll smell a little bit. Okay, but that's what's cooking out, so that's fine. Okay, and then let's add our tomatoes and our olives. And so we have fresh cherry tomatoes that have been halved to release their juices. Beautiful. And then we have our fresh parsley and our fresh oregano. There we go. You can put in your parsley and your oregano too if you want. And then we have some chopped Kalamata olives. And then to layer our flavors, we also have some sun-dried tomatoes. I think it'll be kind of nice in there.
So do sun-dried pretty much all come in oil, or are they?
They don't all come in oil. You can also just get them dried, and then you can reconstitute them yourself in hot water. That's a great question. And then I think we have a little more. Do we have olive oil over there?
There's just this left over from the tomatoes.
Oh, okay. Let's throw that in there just a little bit more. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
It smells really, really nice. Okay, so now we're gonna just turn down our heat to a low, but not off. And we'll just let this kind of stay warm and cook real low. We don't really need it to cook much more. We just want to kind of keep it warm so we're ready for our fish. If it give off a little bit more juice, then that would be okay, but we don't need to actually cook any of this product anymore. So we'll just let that sit and rest, and then we'll get ready to get started on our spinach. Our sauteed spinach starts with an easy, convenient product of baby spinach. This has already been washed, it's been dried, it has the tiny stems so you don't have to destem it. All you have to do is throw it into the pot and it's pretty much cooks itself. We're adding just some fresh garlic as well as extra virgin olive oil, which I love because it's a good fat for us, but it also adds a lot of flavor. So this is a place where you don't want to skimp and get the cheapest kind of olive oil. Go for something a little bit better that has a really great taste to it. You're looking for a good green color in your olive oil. That'll denote that it is fresh. You want to make sure you're looking for extra virgin olive oil, not just olive oil. That means it's going to come from the first cold pressing of the olives, which gives it a ton more flavor as well as better health properties for you when you use it. And in a dish as simple as this spinach is, you really need to have the highest quality ingredients to let it shine. Our fresh spinach starts with the most basic ingredients: fresh spinach, voila, and fresh garlic, and a little bit of olive oil. It's really all in the preparation with this dish, which is really simple to do. So what we want to do is start with our garlic, which I like to just chop off one end, kind of, do a quick smash. This helps me remove the peel, the papery outside peel that we don't want. I can take that off. And then I like to slice my garlic for this dish. And where I got this idea, really, is from Goodfellas, the movie. Have you guys seen it? Okay. So in Goodfellas, they're in prison, and they don't have any cooking utensils except for a razor blade. So they slice the garlic with a razor blade, paper thin, and it melts into the sauce. And they make a comment about how it melts into the sauce by doing it that way. So that's where I get this idea. I just like the idea of it melting into the spinach, but yet it's still big enough to kind of see it when it's cooking. So just paper thin kind of slices of that garlic. We'll add that to our spinach, and that's the only real flavoring the spinach has. We really want the beauty of our sauce, of our tomato sauce, to shine through with our salmon. So this is a real simple side dish, but one that is loaded with all sorts of vitamins, folic acid, antioxidants. It's one of the best leafy greens that you can get. So you see how that looks? So why don't you guys try slicing some garlic. I'll heat up some garlic, some olive oil. And we're just going to put a splash of olive oil in there, and then we're going to add our garlic to it and let it melt in for about a minute, and then we're going to add our spinach. That looks really nice. I think I'm going to turn this off. I'll get the spinach going.
So the amount of garlic that you use, I realize they say cloves, but like these are pretty little cloves.
Those are pretty tiny cloves.
It's a matter of
the amount of garlic you use is a matter of preference for sure. I'm a garlic kind of girl, so I like to use a lot. If you don't like it, you don't even have to add it in if you don't feel like it. But these are really tiny cloves. If you had one or two great big ones, that'd probably be enough. We don't want to overpower it, but you do want some in there because it's really yummy.
Just seems like the bigger ones are easier to handle.
They are easier to handle. They're easier to peel, and you don't have to do as much work. So look for the big cloves. But this is also a fun dish, like if you're getting some really interesting garlic from the farmer's market, to try different kinds, different varietals in it, because you can really focus on how great it tastes, because you'll taste the differences in the garlic in a simple dish like this, as opposed to in like a spaghetti sauce or something. Okay, so as soon as that gets sliced, that looks good. We're going to toss it in here with our stuff. Oh, our sauce looks wonderful. And then we can start on our dessert, our apricots here too. We have to cut those up. Awesome. So we can see the garlic kind of sizzling in the oil. Garlic really burns quickly, so we really don't want this to cook in there on its own for too long. We're going to give it just a minute. We can smell it. Starting to smell it. We don't want it to get brown, so we're going to add that spinach on the top right now. And I'm going to add the spinach kind of in batches and let it cook down, because otherwise it's going to overflow. So one pack, and then we'll add that second pack.
So by steaming, then the spinach is keeping the garlic from getting any more browned or
that's a good point. The water the residual water that's on that spinach is going to let the garlic cook but not burn. I'm just gonna kind of stir this up a little bit. We can see our garlic down in there. Oh, thanks. And this will just cook up really pretty quickly. You'll see it turn bright green and then we'll start to wilt right away. And then we can add the rest of our spinach in there and let it cook. Really, to serve a family, this is not going to be anywhere near enough. This would be enough for 1, maybe 2 people once it cooks down, because it really cooks down a lot, I think. I like spinach though, so for me to eat a bowl of greens really isn't that big of a deal. But you can see it's already starting to cook down. Turn that nice bright green. You smell that garlic, it smells really good. We'll put just a smidge of salt in, and then we'll do the pepper dance over the top again.
So you're wanting it to get pretty soft for this recipe?
Yes, this is definitely a cooked spinach recipe. So this is how much we have left from one bag, and it's not quite all the way cooked down. It's really not that much. I shouldn't have to, no. I mean, I want the flavor of the olive oil, but I don't want it swimming in olive oil. Although one of the best dishes I ever had was greens. It wasn't spinach, it was like kale that had been cooked in olive oil for a long, long time. It was in Italy, and that was put on top of bruschetta, so on top of bread. This melted kale with olive oil and a little bit of garlic, and it was a bruschetta, and it was so delicious because it had so much olive oil. You just got this wonderful flavor, and then really, really soft, yummy, nutty kale. Oh, so simple. A little bit of Parmesan cheese on the top, and that was it. And it was, oh, I know, the simplest ingredients can make the best food if they're the best quality. Okay, so there's the rest of our spinach. You could also put a lid on this and let it steam itself if you didn't want to stand here and stir it, and that would be fine too.
It's not very often that we do dessert on Fresh Start, but dessert is one of my favorite courses since I was a pastry chef for so many years. And today's dessert is healthy but tasty as well. It starts with apricots, which are loaded with vitamin A, vitamin K. They have a lot of fiber in them. There's something that you can get locally in the summertime, but right now you can still find them in the grocery stores. Winter is when they're going to be coming from South America, and they're actually a pretty good product. All you have to do is cut them in half and take the pits out, and we're going to roast them in the oven with a little bit of honey. I really love local honey. It's also good for your immune system to eat local honey because the bees are carrying the flowers around from around here, so it can help boost your immune system if you're using a local product in this dish. Roast the apricots till they get a little bit soft and heat it all the way through, and then we're just going to top them with Greek yogurt, which is loaded with protein, double the calcium, remember that, which is an easy way to boost your calcium. And then a little bit of pistachios. Pistachios have a lot of vitamin E in them. They also look really pretty in this dish. I think you're really going to enjoy this dish, and it's so good for you too.
Our simple, easy, fresh, and healthy dessert starts with apricots. Now, if apricots aren't in season, feel free to use a peach or a plum or even an apple. Any fruit is going to roast up nicely. That's a stone fruit. These apricots are small. They're going to be sweet and tart at the same time. What we're going to do is cut them in half. So if you want to get your knife out there and just give them a slice in half. And take the pit out is the key. We don't want the pit in there. And then we're going to put them cut side up in our pan. And that's it on the fruit. That's all you got to do. And then we have some Greek yogurt, which is one of my favorite ingredients. Why do we like Greek yogurt? It has double the protein of regular yogurt, which is always a good thing. It has double the calcium as well, which is a really important thing for your bones. It also has more live and active cultures than most of the traditional yogurts. So it's going to be better for your digestive tract as well. Not to mention the fact that it is thick. Look at how thick this is. It's like spreadable, it's scoopable, it's so much different than the runny American-style yogurt that we're used to. We're going to stir in some cinnamon into our yogurt to just give it a little bit of flavor. So we'll just sprinkle some in and you can stir that up. Looks good. Here's one more apricot. And then we're going to drizzle our fruit with some honey. And I would really recommend a nice local honey in this so you can really get some great flavors out of it. Or this is your time to bust out a special honey. Say you're saving a black sage honey that you got on a trip, or you have a hazelnut or a chestnut honey. Any of those would be kind of cool in this dish. where you could really taste the flavor of it. So why don't you drizzle that, about half of that over the apricots. And then we'll put the rest on when we're ready to serve it. You can really smell that cinnamon, eh? Yeah. And our apricots then go into an oven. It can be about 350, 400 degree oven, and they're gonna cook just till they're giving off their juices and they're nicely warmed and they're ready to go. It won't take very long, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and they'll be all set. So why don't we, I'm shelling some pistachios here, why don't we put these in the oven? Okay, so here, why don't you guys help me shell a couple of these and then we'll quick chop some up. You can buy ones that are already shelled and roasted at Ferris Coffee and Nut downtown, which is a local purveyor.
Costco has them too.
We're gonna plate up our main dish on this great platter. We're gonna start with our beautiful sauteed spinach with our melted garlic. Such a nice, beautiful, bright green color. Isn't that pretty? Makes me think of spring. Get all my spinach out. I don't want to waste any of that goodness. So we'll kind of spread that out like a little bed to lay our salmon on. Here's our salmon. It's been roasted in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. It has a little bit of salt and pepper on the top, but that's really it. I left the skin on the salmon because it kind of holds it together in the oven, which I don't mind. Now, if you don't like it, you can certainly take the skin off. Sometimes it'll just come off in the pan. That's fine too. If you found that salmon can sometimes taste a little fishy to you, what you're going to want to do is you can take that skin off, and you can also look underneath the salmon for the bloodline, which is the little gray part of the salmon that's underneath the skin. And if you remove that, you're going to get rid of any kind of fishy taste from the salmon. So there's our beautiful salmon pieces, perfectly cooked. And now some of our great fennel, tomato, and olive sauce on the top. We'll just pile that up, and that's just full of flavor and yummy taste. Beautiful. And so easy. It all came together so quickly. The apricots are out of the oven, and we're going to finish them off by drizzling them with even more of the sweet nectar of bees, honey. So go ahead and drizzle a little bit more over the top there. And then we're going to top them with our yogurt that we mixed in a little bit of cinnamon for added flavor. Be generous with the honey. It's our friend.
Okay.
It's a gift from the bees. I'm a big fan of honey. See how nice that is? This would be a great breakfast too. You could do it this way, and you could serve it on top of oatmeal or granola, and that would be a spectacular, healthy, fresh, and delicious breakfast. Or you could just serve it just like this and be fine too. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Then a couple scoops of yogurt, and then we're going to sprinkle.
You just do them individually?
Yeah, you can do them individually. There you go, beautiful. A little bit of the cinnamon Greek yogurt, and you see how thick that yogurt is. It's going to slide a little bit off on some because our apricots are still nice and warm from our oven, from their bath in the oven. Awesome. And then we're going to sprinkle some of our pistachios on top, and that's that beautiful color, green, orange, and white. See how you eat with your eyes first? Isn't that pretty? Yay! Dessert! Our healthy and delicious Mediterranean dinner is done, and in really no time at all. We have our sauteed spinach on the bottom here, our roasted salmon, and then we have fennel, tomato, and olive sauce on top, and it looks and smells amazing. I can't wait to try it. And then we are lucky enough to have dessert today in the Fresh Start Kitchen, one of my favorites, roasted apricots with local honey, Greek yogurt with a little bit of cinnamon in it, and then topped off with some roasted pistachios. It all looks amazing. I can't wait to try it. Thank you so much for joining me in the Fresh Start Kitchen. I hope to see you back here real soon.
Fresh Start with Amy Sherman is made possible in part by the Live Healthy series, a community outreach program from Metro Health Hospital in Wyoming.